Very good afternoon to all the participants of 84th refresher course on ICT. I am thankful to Dr. Manrichi ma'am, Director HRDC, and Dr. Vishal Goyal for giving me the opportunity to be participant of this course. On the behalf of HRDC, Punjabi University Patiala, and the participant of 84th refresher course of ICT, I welcome Dr. Asmita Bakshi, Academic Coordinator at the Consortium for Education Communication, New Delhi. She is handling development and delivery of MOOC, Massive Open Online Courses for SWAYAM since 2016. CEC is one of the national coordinator for the SWAYAM dealing with UG and PG non-technology MOOC. She did the PhD from JNU. Today's title for the talk is CEC MOOC Guidance and Proposal Submission. Welcome, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So very good afternoon, Dr. Asmita. So may I request you to kindly, you may start your talk.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. This is Asmita Bakshi. A very good afternoon to all of you. So I belong to Consortium for Educational Communication. I'll give a brief of about my organization in a while. So this lecture is about Massive Open Online Courses, that is MOOC. What is all guidelines about this issued by ministry, and what we follow during the course development and delivery, and what is the process of proposal making submission. So these are the list of content of this lecture. I'll be talking about MOOC concepts and the SWAYAM platform through which we are associated with Ministry of Education and the MOOCs and everything. And I'll give brief about CEC, what are the guidelines issued by ministry time to time regarding development and delivery of MOOC, what are the steps that you need to take for submitting a proposal for making a MOOC, and what is the process of evaluation, how you will be able to get into this process. And I'll be talking about some about the concepts of MOOC, what are the elements are there in the MOOC, what are the guidelines you need to follow if you are interested in development of MOOC, and what are the new trends, what we observe and we do research something on, what is going on in the area of MOOC. So let's begin with the concept of MOOC. I'm assuming that you all must be aware of the concept of MOOC, since you all are academician, and MOOC is the recent development in the area of academics. So the thing is, in the current scenario, you all must be experiencing in teaching learning process. There is a pause, great pause is there since last 4 to 5 months. So this particular time gives an opportunity to online education to bloom or to expand. So the MOOC concept of MOOC is basically, if I say in a very simplistic manner, that it is an online courses which offer a great opportunity to learners, not only to students enrolled in any particular university or college, but to all. If a person is employed somewhere, or a retired person who wants to pursue his interest or her interest. So it provides opportunity to all to learn anywhere, anytime, as per their interest. So if we see the MOOC concept of MOOC, that it is massive open online courses. Massive means it can cater a large number of participants. Simultaneously, they can be engaged in teaching learning process. It is open for all. Everybody can enroll in the course since it is online. Remote learning is possible. So here also it gives opportunity to learn, to provide quality education irrespective of all geographic barriers. A student sitting in a remote area of Odisha or Jharkhand or Rajasthan, the learner or student can avail a quality education of a quality course developed by an eminent personality or eminent teacher from India or from abroad. So it gives an opportunity for students to get a quality education irrespective of their their region or their uh, any kind of socio-economic barriers. So the fourth option is course. Course, I'll be talking further in the slides about the course in terms of SWAYAM, but here we can say a normal concept of course is based on a structured learning material which has some learning outcomes and learning objectives through 3 to 4 months of duration. A student goes through all the learning material, and by the end of the course the student gets a certificate or a defined learning outcome, whatever he gone through, some assessments or video lectures or learning materials, e-text, web resources. There's a lot of scope for students or for teachers to provide. It's a lot of opportunity for teachers to provide students a lot of good material, but that needs to be a synchronous learning so that a student cannot deviate from your learning objectives. So this is the basic concept of MOOC, that is Massive Open Online Course. So in currently in India, the concept evolved, I guess, in 2015, and since then it is being evolved day to day. There are some developments, and there are very much confusion, or you can say there are doubts among teachers community or students community. Why MOOC? If we are able to teach in college or university, if students are enrolling in universities or college, then why MOOCs? What is the need of open online courses? So here the basic objective of this initiative is, as of now, the total gross enrollment ratio in higher education is about 25%, and government plans to increase it up to 30 to 35% by the end of 2030. And it is, if we compare to the other countries of the world, then we have very low GER in our country. So, what is the way to provide education to the last learner of the country? So we find that open online education has that capacity to reach to the last student. So because a government has done many initiatives, many policies and plans, but all were not that much successful. Seeing the GER, that is only 25%, and in the coming year by 2035 or 2040, India would be the first country in the world having the young population, largest young population lot in the world. So we are in the requiring zone to provide quality education, to 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 make a great workforce in our country. So this may be a better option to provide quality education, to provide skill education to the learners. So this is the growing phase of this initiative. Maybe in a couple of years there may be more progress, because ministry is in process of doing more and more policy kind of thing for this thing. So here MOOCs can be opted for credit, that can be opted for college students who are already enrolled in some colleges or university. So they can opt MOOC for their credit, and MOOC for knowledge that can be opted by anybody, for domain knowledge, for skill enhancement, and MOOC for blended learning and flipped learning. These two options are for teachers. So if a teacher is not involved in development on or delivery of MOOC, then they can use, because since these are open resources, so the teacher can use these resources in their classroom teaching as well. They can provide these content to students as a reference material, and the students can go through the material. They can discuss on any topic in the class with teacher. So these kind of things, the concept or the content provide to students as well as teachers. So basically, these are the stages of MOOC development and MOOC delivery. The first stage is proposal making, in which we invite expression of interest for development of MOOC, and through that invitation, teachers are requested to send their course proposal to us, and then we screen their proposals at our end. And for this, there's two-stage process: subject expert group and AAC. And finally, we send proposals to ministry for final approval. And then funding comes in from ministry, and then the production facility. We have EMRCs throughout the country. We give them courses to develop, and then development and delivery of the course, in which we have 4 quadrants. I'll be talking about this in further slides. And uploading in the platform. Fourth stage is evaluation. That comes in 2 forms. First is in-course assessment, like you do in the classroom teaching also, and end-term proctor exam. The fifth option stage is course credit. First, in evaluation, we offer credit to the students, and the fifth option, the credit transfer from a host university to parent university, and the parent university need to accept the credit offered by a host university. I'll be explaining these terms in the slides. So I'm not sure if you're aware about the SWAYAM project or not, or SWAYAM platform or not, but I'm just giving you a brief. SWAYAM is an online platform. You must be heard about the online teaching platform like edX, Coursera, Udemy, etc. So like that, Indian government has its own online MOOC platform that is called SWAYAM, and so this whole project was based on the concept of access, equity, and quality. Like I mentioned earlier, it provides the opportunity to students to access quality education with equity. So, and this is also the same thing, that the content can be accessed by anyone, anywhere, anytime. And one important thing, the SWAYAM platform offers courses from 9th class to post-graduation, including vocational courses, certificate courses, diploma courses, all together. And so these courses, all the courses offered on SWAYAM are credit courses, and credit transfer can happen in all the courses if parent university or host university give their consent, and those are developed by best of the teachers available in the country. So this is the link of SWAYAM website. You can go to the website. You can check the kind of courses we have on SWAYAM. So SWAYAM has these national coordinators which has all national coordinators have a different kind of domain. Suppose AICT is there for non-credit courses or self-paced courses, which can be accessed throughout the year anytime. CEC is there for non-technology curriculum-based UG and PG undergraduate and postgraduate courses. IGNOU is there for certificate and diploma courses and so on. So CEC here comes into the light. The CEC is there for non-technological courses. Earlier we had only undergraduate courses, but in 2019 UGC has given up its national coordinatorship and transferred it to CEC. So since then CEC is working for UG and PG courses both. So if any of you are interested to associate yourself with CEC or for MOOCs initiative, I'll be telling you the process for this. So basically CEC is an inter-university center of UGC, which was established in the year 1993 with the mandate to develop and disseminate digital educational content throughout the country. So, and since then CEC is working towards it. CEC has many other projects also along with the SWAYAM project. So all the CEC's head office or central office is located at Delhi, but we have 21 media centers, that is called Educational Research Multimedia Center. So across India, through which we develop educational content and disseminate to across India. So these are the locations of our EMRCs throughout the India, and at your university also in Patiala we have our EMRC. So these are our domain areas of production, dissemination and ICT environment building. In production we have videos, e-content and MOOCs. Dissemination broadcast, we do two kind of broadcast, TV and radio, and non-broadcast mode, that is live lecture or webcast, or also we have a YouTube channel. So we put our lectures there also. So ICT environment building, that we do training, workshop, conferences, research, etc. And also I would like to tell you that CEC has the largest repository of digital content in the India. So we have almost 16,500 enrichment video and around 23,000 of e-content modules. Also we have developed courseware entire e-content modules in 87 undergraduate subjects, and courseware videos we have 23,000. Live lectures we do every day 3 to 4, or whatever available slot we have, 3 to 4 lectures we live telecast for students on our Vyas channel. We have a channel also, and so far we have developed 450 massive open online courses, I guess, and in which we have offered 348 UG courses and 142 PG courses. So we have a long experience working with the MOOCs and the SWAYAM platform. These are some highlights of our courses semester-wise from July, December semester, and if you will see a large increase in enrolled students in our courses, and also we have issued certificate around in the last semester around 9,000 students for UG courses and 6,300 certificates for PG students in our courses. So these are universities which are associated with us for development and delivery of MOOCs. They also associated with us as host university. Host university means they are offering credit for our courses and they give certificates also. So now let's come to the guidelines of development and delivery. What are these? So there are few terms which are being constantly used while talking about MOOCs and all. So there are few terms like course coordinator, host university, parent institution. First of all, course coordinator. Course coordinator are those person or experts or academicians who are offering course on SWAYAM. They can be associated with some university or not the same university as which are offering credit. I'll explain it. See, as of now, any academician who are associated with any government-funded university, or whether it is central university or state university, they can propose a MOOC to us, and they need to get a consent from their university that they are ready to offer the course and they are ready to give the certificate for that particular course. So the university to which the course coordinator belongs is called host university, right? But in some cases, the university to which the course coordinator belongs does not allow or does not give consent to give credit or give certificate. Then in that case, the host university cannot be the university to which course coordinator belongs. In that case, course coordinator associate himself or herself to some other university which approves the course offered by the course coordinator, and they give their consent, the university gives their consent to give the credit and certificate. In the case, the offering or the university which approves the course will be called host university. So there is a two case. A host university can be a university to which the course coordinator belongs, and in the other case, the university to which course coordinator belongs cannot be a host university. Instead, the other university which approves the course of course coordinator can be a host university, right? And the next term is parent institution. Parent institution is very simple. It is the institution to which the the students are enrolled. Suppose I am taking a course and I am enrolled in University of Delhi, but I am taking a course from an expert who is from JNU. Then my university as a student will be a host parent university. The role of parent university is to acknowledge the credit given by the host university. So these three things are related, and the main stakeholder of the entire MOOC is these three persons or institutions. So in case of any doubt in these things, you please write it down. We can discuss it later on. So another term is subject expert group. In the guideline, it was said that there is a group of experts for each subject to evaluate the received proposals. So at NC or at each NC, if there are 8 NCs of SWAYAM at National Coordinator, there are few groups of subject experts depending on the subject and the need of the group. So they each NC form subject-wise experts group, and once they receive the proposal, they put the proposal in front of subject expert group to evaluate, and then expert group gives their recommendation for approval, for modification, or for rejection, whatever they feel like, whatever the proposal they have, they evaluate and then they give their recommendation. Then there is another group, AAC, Academic Advisory Council. Based on the recommendation given by subject expert group, the AAC gives their final decision over any received proposal. So right now we have Academic Advisory Council of in 4 knowledge streams, that is Natural and Applied Sciences, Arts, Literature and Languages, and the Social Sciences, and Management and Professional courses. So we follow these guidelines. Also, there is a guideline for credit structure. Generally, we have 4 credit courses or 2 or 3 credit courses. So, depending on the length of your video content in your entire course, the credit can be calculated or set. So, a 4 credit course needs to have 20 hours of video content. Not strictly, but yes, more or less it should be on 20 hours of video lecture. It also depends on the need of the course. It can be 22 hours also. It can be 19 or 18 hours also. But it totally depends on the need of the course. But roughly, yes, it should be 20 hours of video lecture for 4 credit course. Accordingly and proportionately, if the credit or video lecture reduces, then it will get reduced accordingly. If there is a 10 to 15 hours of video lecture, then the course credit would be 3, 2 or etc. like that. So these are some norms set by the ministry for development of MOOCs. I have already mentioned that 20 hours of video content and 20 hours of e-text needs to have for a 4 credit course, and there are some quality parameters given in the guidelines. So a course coordinator needs to comply with that while development of the course. And since the approval of the course, a course coordinator will get 6 months time to develop the course also, and the final payment and final review would be done at NC. Once the review is done and the contents are accepted, then the final payment would be made to course coordinator or to nodal center. And if in the review process we find that there are some modification is required or something like that, then we send the course content in revision. Once it gets revised and then it comes back to us, then we accept the content and release the payment. So these are some guidelines for course development and delivery, which is mentioned, which all these kind of things are mentioned in guideline also. So here another development for UGC from UGC regarding the credit thing. So I'm also not aware about the structure of syllabus or curriculum you follow in your universities. So here I'm concentrating on CBCS UGC's curriculum. So basically, currently, as I am aware that most of the universities are following credit-based system. So, as per the guidance or gazette released by UGC in 2017, a student can avail 20% of the total credit of their entire degree program through Swayam courses or online courses. So it says that MOOC can be a two type, a credit course or non-credit course. Credit course would be for those who want credit transfer to their university. Suppose I am a undergraduate student and throughout the 3-year degree program I have to get 120 credits. If I need 120 credit, then I can avail 20% of 120 credit through online courses. This Gazette notification allows me to do this, and universities are also directed to allow students to do online courses. A recent development in this, I'm not. I guess the confirm. I'm not confirmed that the notification released yet or not, but it is there in pipeline in UGC also, that they are increasing this limit up to 20% to 40%. It means the number of students taking online courses going to increase because the umbrella they have increased the umbrella size of 20 credit to 40 credit. So it is going to increase in coming semesters. So these are some guidelines which my ministry and UGC has released time to time. Also, the guideline released from UGC also says that for teachers who are developing MOOC courses, they can get 10 points per module. If they develop one module in 4 quadrants, then they will get 10 API score, 10 points in API score. So suppose roughly if we have 4 credit course and we have 35 to 40 modules, then they can get 350 to 400 points as a API score. So these are some incentives to encourage teachers or academicians to take part of this initiative, and we have seen a great response also of teachers who are very prompt and very tech savvy. They want to contribute in this initiative also. So these are some guidelines regarding development and delivery. And here are some financial norms which are how much funds are available for development and delivery. So these are the things for development of teaching learning material. So 4.5, a total amount which is there for development of teaching learning material is 4.5 lakh for a 4 credit course, and another 9 lakh rupees would be given for development activities. Except development of teaching learning material, there are many things to do like editing of video lecture, proofreading, instructional design, and shooting of videos, indoor shooting hai, outdoor shooting hai, whatever. Then for that purpose, they have given 9 lakh rupees. So a total cost would be funds available is 13.5 lakh for 4 credit course. So these are the things. These were there for development only. 13.5 lakhs are there just for development of the course. There is a separate fund for delivery of the course on Swayam. If a person develops a course, they will get as a team they will get 19.5 lakh rupees. Sorry, 13.5 lakh rupees. And once the course is approved and they offer course on Swayam, then there is a separate fund for that. For 4 credit course, they will get 1 lakh rupees if the enrollment in the course exceeds 500 number, and if the enrollment is less than 500, then they will get 80,000 rupees. But in current scenario, we don't have any courses which have less than 500 enrollment. And there is an option of teaching assistants also, because we understand and policymakers also understand that teachers all are already employed somewhere. They have their burdens, teaching burdens, and their research burdens over them. So they provide option for teaching assistant. They can have a teacher can have teaching assistant who can assist them in course delivery, and there is a separate fund for them, that is teaching assistant, that is 20% per course, 20,000 per course. So these are some norms for development and delivery. Also, delivery fund is subject to modification if academic council, our academic council we have, if they feel that the funds, the activity is more in course delivery and the fund we are giving honorarium that is less, they have power to increase the fund as well. So this is the thing, and there is a process of proposal submission and review process. It is also mentioned in the guideline. So we have some advertisement on our website, cec.nic.in. Everything is there. There is a separate email ID given. You can submit your course proposal there. Then we vet course proposal depending on the completeness of received course proposal. This vetting is done at NCN, and our course staff, our team members vet the course proposal. Then we have to organize expert group meetings. We give course proposals to them. They give their recommendation. Then academic council see the recommendation, and based on that they give their final decision. And then after approved course, after AAC, the approved courses list we send to Swayam board, that is the body of ministry. A meeting is being held in ministry of Swayam board. This is the process for funding. And now let's talk about MOOC proposal for MOOC making and submission. So there is an advertisement of MOOC development on our website, that is cec.nic.in. Let me see if I can show you. No, it's not right. Okay. So this is the thing. On the website, there is an option CEC MOOC, and submit your proposal for UG MOOC and PG MOOC. Once you click in the option, you will be directed to course proposal performer. It is there. So I'll show you the performer, how and what you need to fill in. So this is the expression of interest. This is a one-page form. You need to fill and you need to submit it on the given email ID. It is mentioned at the top of the proposal format. For UG courses, if you are proposing a course for undergraduate students, then you have to submit your proposal on cec.mookproposal@gmail.com. And if you are submitting course for postgraduate students, then you need to submit your proposal on cec.pgmook@gmail.com. This advertisement on our website is rolling. It is always available on our website. You can submit your course proposal throughout the year anytime. But as of now, there is a recent development in inviting expression of interest. So now the progress is Ministry wants to develop entire 3-year degree program for undergraduate students through online mode. So the expression, there is a separate portal has been created for this. I'll show you. As of now, I guess only see, this is the portal for submission of your proposal. As of now, only UG course proposals are invited on this portal. But if you have PG courses or you need to submit your proposal other than the courses mentioned on this portal, you can submit anytime on the given email ID that is on. So here you can submit your course proposal through this. You can find everything here: scope of work, eligibility, guidelines, submission of proposals. You can have guidelines here also. SWAYAM guidelines, financial norms, everything. Consent letter format also it is there. So you can do it here. Also, you can submit your proposal here. As of now, 6 courses are mentioned here only. UG, and 6 courses are there: anthropology, history, political science, public administration, sociology, and commerce. If you have to submit course proposal in these 6 subjects, you can go to this portal. You can select your course in which you would like to send your proposal, and you can fill the performer and submit your course proposal here itself. Other than these 6 subjects, if you are willing to submit your course proposal, you can submit your course proposal to these email IDs, which is mentioned here. I'll show you the proposal format also. So basically, we need to follow CBCS structure. These are the CBCS structure as defined by UGC. We follow UGC model curriculum course structure design. So these are the things that these are the category of papers in which you can submit your course proposal, and accordingly you need to give credit also. So for core courses, you need to give 4 to 6 credit. Elective papers are also for 4 to 6 6 to 4 credit, and AACC and SCC, I guess it is for 2 credit courses. So accordingly, you have to while proposing your course, you have to comply with UGC CBCS structure. So these are the basic things which you need to follow while conceptualizing your proposal. You need to assess the gap area in the subject. For example, if you are proposing a course in, say for example, in mathematics or in geography, then you have to analyze, you have to give a small research in the area, then what kind of courses are in demand or what is not available in online mode. So suppose in your university, in some area is left out in elective papers, some courses are not there, in some courses teachers are not there. So you have to give this kind of analysis, and you need to assess rationale also. But see, these things will come parallelly. If you will see the gap area, then you will get the rationale of the course. Once you get the rationale of developing your course, then objective immediately comes into your mind. So these things need to be clear: why you are developing your course, what is the need of course, what would be your objective for students, what are the learning outcomes you are expecting at the end of the course. And if you have set your learning outcome, then how you are going to achieve that learning outcome. Everything needs to be synchronized manner, so that you can build your content based on the method you are going to take to achieve that learning outcome. So these are the things you need to conceptualize, you need to think over, you need to do research before even conceptualizing about the course proposal. Before making your proposal, you need to get these things in line. So these are the basic things you need to do. And as of now, as I have showed you in on the portal, these are the basic things, basic areas in which we are focusing as of now. 6 subjects are there. 6 more are about to come, are about to updated on the portal. So basically, these are the current need of CEC. So if you are interested, you can send your proposal on these subjects, else you can submit your course proposal on any subject, on any topic, on the email ID. So let me show you what information we are asking in. This is the one page EOI format. EOI is expression of interest. So here you need to mention your course title that needs to be in compliance with CBCS. If your course, suppose you are proposing a course which is not there in CBCS, then you have to mention that it is not there in CBCS, and please attach your syllabus, whatever you are referring, along with your course proposal. So your knowledge stream, it is given there as an extra one. You can refer. We have 4 knowledge streams. You have to mention whatever is applicable for your course, your subject, your degree program, whether it is for undergraduate, BA, BSc, BCom, or whatever, or UG program, PG program. You have to mention here whether it is non-credit course or credit course. If it is credit course, please mention credit here. Name of the course coordinator who is proposing the course. The name of the person who is proposing the course, that the person will be a course coordinator. And the contact details, their designation, their experience, nature of employment, these all fields are mandatory. Institution, college to which the person is associated. NAC rating, it is not mandatory NAC rating, but yes, it helps to see to expert group to identify or to assess the quality of the university. So because that particular university will be offering the credit, so it helps us also and our council and SEG members also for selection of the course. But I must tell that it is not that much important. If the proposal is good, contents are good, sample videos and etc. are good, it doesn't matter the NAC rating whatever of that particular institute. Host university is mandatory. You have to mention which university is offering your course. It is not necessarily the same university to which the expert is associated. It can be another university also. I have earlier explained this. So you have to mention this thing while submitting your proposal. Also, you have to give consent letter of that particular university that the university is ready to offer credit and certificate for your course. And if we understand to get a consent letter from a administrative structure of any university is cumbersome task. So if you are not ready with a consent letter at the moment, you can give your declaration that you can provide it before release of the fund if your course gets approved. So you can mention it here. Three things are mandatory to for approval of your course proposal. One is detailed proposal format. I'll be showing you what is that. A sample video, it is also mandatory part. You need to develop a sample video of 5 to 7 minutes. That needs not to be a technically rich video. You can record in your through your mobile phone also, because in many time we observe that subject experts to ask for video lectures, because see the proposal is very good, but they need to see how course coordinator is going to deal with the topic covered in the module. So better to provide a sample module, sample video along with the course proposal and the sample write-up. Sample write-up kind of thing is like a write-up, a small write-up on any of the topic covered on in your course. So these are the basic things we need to get ready with the to submit with the proposal. So let's talk about detailed MOOC proposal. So this is a detailed MOOC proposal format. Along with that one-page EOI format, you need to submit this detailed document also. So here you need to mention course title. Course title, see, let me explain you. A course can be a paper taught in any 3-year degree program or 2-year degree program. Suppose in geography, there is a paper, physical geography. So I can develop a MOOC on physical geography. A course is a paper. I hope you all are understanding what is a course means. So give a course title in accordance with the paper title, so that our expert committee will understand to which course, to which paper of that particular 3-year degree course or master's course, 2-year degree master course, this course belongs. They need to understand this. You need to mention your subject, your course level, your course category. It can be core course, elective course. If your course is not there in CBCS, then even suppose you want to offer a course in sustainable development. It is not there in CBCS curriculum. You want to develop a course on climate change. It is not there in CBCS in any of the subject. So you have then your course will come into knowledge enhancement course. It can be a certificate course. So here you need to mention clearly in which category your course belongs. If your course is in CBCS, then it must be core course or elective course. If it is not there, then the course must be certificate course as per the CBCS or UGC model curriculum. If you are not referring CBCS or UGC model curriculum, then according to your syllabus to which you are referring to your course, you have to mention in accordance with that particular syllabus. So course category and the description about your course description, you have to mention, describe your course. And also, if your course is not based on UGC model curriculum or CBCS, then you have to specify the university name in which your course is being taught. Suppose you are referring a course from University of Madras. That course is not there in UGC model curriculum. Then you can refer that syllabus of University of Madras for making your course proposal. And also you need to identify other universities where the course is being taught. For approval of any course which is not based on UGC model curriculum or CBCS, it is mandatory that the particular course is being taught more than 2 universities, 3, 4, 5, that is fine. But we cannot approve any course which is being taught in just one university, because there is a huge fund and effort is involved in development of one course. So, and if the beneficiaries are less number, like 100 students or 200 students, then it is not feasible for us to invest so much effort and funds for development of such courses. So, better to choose courses from UGC model curriculum or CBCS or any such courses which is being taught in more than 2 or 3 universities. Course duration. Course duration can be 4 to 12 weeks depending on the number of modules. Generally, 4 credit course will last in 12 weeks. So, it depends on the course coordinator how and what method they follow to structure their courses, and your semester also, in which semester you would like to offer your course credit, 2 to 4 credit or 6 credit, whatever you can mention here as per the UGC or CBCS syllabus. Your weekly plan you need to give. Also, course rationale of developing this course objectives, and learning outcome. See, these topics are very important. What we observe that many experts, what they do, they just write course objectives, and same thing they paste on course rationale and course learning outcome as well. But if you think the rationale, the objectives, and the learning outcome both are different aspects of a course. So you need to be clear about the rationale and objectives and learning outcome of the course, and you need to clearly define in terms of your course. Don't don't take it casually that you can write whatever, because our expert group will read each and everything what you are writing in your proposal. Based on that only they give their recommendation. So if you are casual writing in your rationale or objectives and learning outcome, then accordingly you will get the result of your proposal also. So be careful while writing anything in your proposal. A course introductory video is the kind of sample video also. I have already mentioned that you have to make 3 to 5 or 7 minutes video. Prerequisites you have to mention. If you are opting for a paper that is being taught in 3rd year of 5th semester or 1st year or whatever, then if there is something as prerequisite for opting that course, you have to specify here. Intended audience, your host university name, and here point 7 talks about faculty profile. First is about course coordinator. You have to mention, and if a course coordinator has his team, because if you are developing a 40 modules course, it is not necessarily you can develop the 40 entire module by yourself. You need to have a team. So if you are having 2-member team, 3-member team, or whatever, you have to specify here at the time of proposing your course. If you are not ready with your team at the moment of submission, then you can write your name as only, and you can add your team later on also once your course gets approved. So that is not an issue. You have to give your course coordinators brief, total number of module you are covering in your course. Module are lectures. If you are developing 40 lectures in a 4-credit course, then that are termed as modules as per the MOOCs guidelines and our working. So you have to mention a total number of modules how many modules you are going to cover in your course. A 4 credit course will have roughly 35 to 40 modules. And each module will have a 30 minutes of duration. So then it would be like 20 hours of video lecture for 4 credit course and 20 hours of text content. And also you have to mention term and assessment. What kind of term and assessment you would like to prefer? Whether it is pen and paper exam in your course or it is computer based objective type of exam, whatever you would like to have, you have to mention here. So you have to assess the total engagement also. You can mention it per week also or throughout the course also. So roughly it is suggested that 3 to 5 hours of weekly engagement time of students is enough for an online course. And you have to give here your assessment plan. Weightage kind of thing, like how much weightage would you give for internal assessment and how much weightage you would give for end-term exam. So these are the required things what you need to fill in. And also this is the weekly course plan. This is basically the structure what you are going to follow while offering your course. So we use a pattern of weekly structure. So you can give up to 5 lectures in a week. So you can give 2 also, 3 also, 4 also, and maximum 5, not more than 5 is suggested. Else it's up to you how many modules you are going to release in a week for students. And the day 1, day 2, and here you have to mention clearly what topic or what title you are going to cover, and objective module wise, and weekly learning outcome here you have to mention, not module wise, but it's weekly learning outcome. So you have to define accordingly, and you can increase here. If you are developing 14 week, then you have to extend this list up to 14th week or 12th week or 10th week or whatever your course requires. So this is the course proposal you need to fill in. So basically these are the information which is required on that portal as well, which I have showed you, that InfluxNet portal for 6 subjects. These information is asked there also. So if you are filling your EOI there, then also you have to mention these details. So I have a sample video also, if I could play here. Let me check. Is it the audio is audible of that video? Can anybody tell me if the audio is
No, ma'am.
audio is not available?
No, ma'am.
Ma'am, this is the limitation of this free conference call, that audio is not propagated if you are playing. Hello, Asmita ma'am. Dr. Asmita. Hello. Dr. Asmita, this is the limitation of this software, that audio is not being played while screen sharing.
Ma'am, your voice is not audible.
Yeah, so there is some like while she was playing the video, some settings has been changed by the pre-conference call while giving the permissions. So wait for a while. She is rejoining after leaving this room. Yeah, I think she has joined. So we will check again. Hello. Yeah, ma'am.
Hello.
Yeah, ma'am, you are audible. Please continue. I am giving you the
Okay,
screen
okay.
sharing rights. Just wait.
Sure, sure, sure. Hello. Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am. Screen is visible. You are audible. Please continue. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So we were here on the course proposal format. So I have showed you the course proposal format and UI format, and I won't be showing you any video again, though I have 2 or 3. But let's avoid that. So this is the process of proposal evaluation. I had already mentioned that once you submit the proposal, we have our 2 groups. We would put first on SAG, then again on advisory council. And after they approve their course, we process for funding. We have to send the list of courses to ministry. Then they release fund to us, and then we release advance fund for course development. And the final payment would be made after acceptance of your course content, after review at CEC and National Coordinator. Yeah. So this is just the format. I have also flow of working course approval, but I have already mentioned that. So let's come to now course development. There are some process for course development. So here you can see the lifetime of a MOOC. That is, first stage is I have already covered that MOOC proposal format stage, and then let's come to a MOOC life cycle. That is development of the course after approval of your course proposal. It comes to development of the course, in which there are few steps: that recording of your video content, developing e-text, creation of assessment method, developing your course structure and schedule. It comes under development of the course. Then course creation and submission. So once your course is developed, then it will get uploaded. You will get the certificate from NC that now you can upload your course are okay, contents are okay, then you can upload it on Swayam. Once you submit all the certificates, we require certain kind of certificates like plagiarism certificate, course completion certificate, UC certificate, whatever those kind of certificates we require from course coordinator. Then once you submit all the course certificate and your course content is ready, then we allow you to upload your course content on Swayam portal. Then again a final review would be done to review your course content on Swayam portal as per your schedule, course structure. Then you can release your course content for students. And meanwhile, another thing comes in, that publicity of your course. So in online courses, publicity plays very important role, because a student, a learner should know about your course, that such and such course is going to be live on Swayam portal, and what are the benefits the student, the learner can avail of your course, what are the credits. That's why you need to publicize your course using the USPs of your course, your introductory video you can post, you can use social media, you can get a pamphlet published from your for your course, you can share those, circulate in universities or colleges. You can use conventional media or social media as well. Also, publicity is being done by ministry level, at NC level, in our case at EMRC level also. But a course coordinator, if wish or if he desires, he have all the equipment or facility with him and he wish to publicize his course, he can do that also, because publicity is very important for your course, so that more and more students can get enrolled in your course and get benefited. So and then delivery of the course comes. So you have to ensure that your content is being released as per your schedule, published on the Swayam website, so that students will be aware of the structure of your course published on the Swayam website. Then you have to comply with that, so that students can be engaged in your course. They can expect in advance that now the next content is going to release on Tuesday, or the assessment is going to release on Thursday or Friday or Saturday, and the last date is 2 days later, so we have to submit the assignment. So these kind of things get student engaged in your course. So ensuring your course schedule is very important. Posting questions in discussion forum. You see, there is the option of discussion forum also on Swayam courses, through which a student can discuss with a course coordinator, with TA, or with their students, to clear their doubts, their queries, and also discussion forum provides an opportunity to students to learn from peers. So this facility makes them feel a classroom type of feeling, so that a student can interact within themselves, with teacher, or with teacher assistant also. You need to moderate discussions. You have to, because sometimes discussions can get out of the track also. So you have to look what kind of discussions are going in discussion forum. So you have to do that also. Problem solving, mid-course assessment, and you have to do weekly assessment. If you are doing MCQ kind of assessment, that it is auto-graded, you do not need to evaluate those. But in case of subjective assessment, you need to evaluate those. So it comes in delivery of the course. So you have to timely evaluate those assessments, or you have to monitor students' engagement, and also you can take students' feedback, so that you can improve. Suppose you have developed a course, so your course can be offered on Swayam in multiple times, not only in one semester, but in coming semester also. So depending on the student's feedback, you can improvise your course content for the next run. Suppose you have offered your course in July 2020 semester, you have taken students' feedback about your course. Based on that, you need to improvise your course content for the next run, which would be July 2021 semester. So these will help you to improve your course, improve your connectivity with the students, and so that it can ultimately affect your course delivery on the portal. So these are things, and the last thing is end-term assessment, in which first you need to create question paper, whether it is objective kind of question paper, whatever you feel like, or pen and paper exam. You have to prepare two sets of question paper. You have to announce exam date. Basically, exam date is being as of now. Exam date is being decided by ministry, and then you have to make announcement in the course time to time, and timely evaluation, and then certification and credit transfer will be done from at the host university level and at the NC level. In that, you do not need to worry. You just your task in course delivery completes within the with providing of two sets of question paper and answer keys. So these are the things, steps involved in MOOC cycle. So we follow 4-quadrant design of MOOCs. They, as of now, but there is a progress. I must say that there must be a 5th quadrant also. I'll tell you what. But the quadrant 1 is audio video content, that is video lecture, in which you need to incorporate animation, simulation, video demonstration, virtual lab, etc. That the aim of video lecture is that should be interactive, so that a student cannot get bored out of watching your video content. It should be interactive. It should be. I'll be telling you how you can make your video content more interactive. Quadrant 2 is all e-content material you are providing along with the video lectures. That is self-instructional material. You can provide e-books. You can provide case studies, presentations, web resources, links, additional resources, book lists, whatever you feel like to provide additional resources with each module that comes in e-content and quadrant 2. Quadrant 3 is discussion forum. I have already briefed you about the facility what the discussion forum provides. So a discussion forum can be handled by a course coordinator, him or herself, or by his team. So, and the 4th quadrant is assessment, which includes in-course assessment and end-term assessment. So, these are many kind of assessment you can make. The SWAYAM portal gives you opportunity to make certain kind of assessment. I'll be telling you later. So these are the things, and additional the 5th quadrant, which is not there as of now, but yes, you can use it through any other mode, that is live interaction. So as of now, the courses is being hosted on Google supported platform and through a Google ID. So currently the course coordinator are using Google Meet or YouTube Live for live interaction, but it is formally not integrated in the portal itself. But in the coming semester, it must be there. But as of now, the course coordinator are using the other way of live interaction, not on the portal. But I hope so that quadrant 5 will come soon on the portal itself. So these are the detail of that quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. Here I would like to explain just assessment part. The assessment will have in-course assessment and end-term assessment. In-course assessment, you need to give assessment with each lecture, and that also can be two types. First is self-assessment, that needs not to be a graded one. That should be a self-graded, means the marks of those assessments will not be counted for making internal assessment. And the other in-course assessment would be a graded assessment. So, graded assessment you need to give weekly or bi-weekly. It can be MCQ, MSQ, short answer kind of, or subjective assessment. Otherwise, if your course is computer based or programming based, the option is also there. You can give that kind of assessment also on that, or mathematical questions also you can give as a weekly or bi-weekly assessment. The other kind assessment is term end assessment, in which as of now two kind of paper is being used for practice. Is one is computer based test, that is objective type of questions, and the other is pen and paper examination. So examination is being conducted by National Testing Agency uh, through ministry. So NTA has almost 120 centers across India, and the student need to appear on the examination center to give the examination. So as of now, this method is being practiced. So now let's come to design of MOOCs. I have already mentioned that what you need to do before conceptualizing about your MOOC proposal, that is need analysis, content analysis, learner analysis. Need analysis, I have already mentioned that the gap, rationale, objective, learning outcome comes under need analysis. Content analysis means based on your need analysis, you need to make your content analysis, what kind of content you are going to take to achieve that learning outcome or objective, how you are going to uh, structure those content so that you can achieve your weekly learning outcome. So you have to see, you have a long story, then you need to break those story in small chunks so that you can achieve your ultimate goal of your course learning outcome through weekly learning outcome. Like that, you have to plan your course structure under content analysis. The third point is learner analysis. Learner analysis comes like learners are diverse. You have to deal with the sharp students, not so sharp students. You have to deal with 12th pass student also. You can deal with a professional also. You can develop. You can deal with a retired person also. So you have to do your content analysis as well as learner analysis. Accordingly, you need to plan your course structure so that your content can justify need of your learners, whether if they come from a student community, whether they come from an employed person, or already a working professional, or a retired person. So if your course is being done for knowledge sake, for certificate sake, or for any purpose, you have to design your course content accordingly so that it can cater the need of diverse group of learner. So here after analysis, design comes in. You need to design evaluation strategy, objective, course outline, duration of the course, detailed time was course session plans, and instructional material strategies, and credit structure. So it comes under, first you need to do analysis, then you have to design your course accordingly. So basically, this instructional system works well for our MOOC as of now. Maybe time to time we can modify also as per the need of that particular course. So these are the same thing what I have just explained. Here are some role of course coordinator and hello. Hello?
Ma'am.
Hello? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. You are.
Vishal sir, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I am here. Yes, Asmita, ma'am. Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, ma'am. I am here, please.
Sir, can you let me know how much time do I have to finish this session?
Sir, ma'am, it depends upon you. Otherwise, it is up to 4:10. Then we can have a session for 10 minutes for question answers.
Okay. See, so what I'll do, I have so much thing to tell, so it would get boring also. So what I do, I'll bind up by 4:10. Then we can have question answer. Rest anybody, if they want, I can share this PPT to you. I have already shared. You can share to participants as well.
Okay, ma'am. No issues.
Okay. So I'll try to bind up by 4:10. Right?
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So let's see some responsibility of being a course coordinator here. I have already mentioned that course coordinator can be a subject expert or academician, which who is already affiliated from a central or state university. As in the case of CEC as a national coordinator, if a person is associated with some private university, they can also apply for MOOC courses, but not through us, through AICTE, because they are dealing courses from private university. Also, if a private university is established under clause 12B, they can send proposal to us as well. So there are some responsibility like ensuring compliance of guidelines, getting consent from host university, and course mapping, course structure. Course coordinator is responsible to make identification of subject experts. This is the important thing. See, if I am proposing a course, so I cannot develop entire 40 modules by myself. I need a team so that I can develop 4 or 5 or 6. The other person can develop 6 or 5, 7, whatever they feel like. And the other person also. So we have to have a team of at least 3 to 4 persons, so that we can finish course development process within a 6 months of approval of the course, right? So we as a course coordinator, I have to identify who is the suitable person to develop these modules. I have made a structure of course. I have jotted down all the lecture titles, 40 lecture titles. Then I have to identify who else other than me can contribute in development of this course. So this is also the responsibility of course coordinator, and vetting of academic script provided by subject expert. If other person is involved as a team, then the content developed by them needs to be verified by the course coordinator, and these are some other things that he needs to perform. But the thing is, as a team, they have to do course coordinator, the other experts in the course, and the teaching assistant. The other course expert in the course are academicians from the same university, can be from the same university of course coordinator, or from the other university also. The person can be from other university also. What they need to do, they need to help course coordinator in finalizing the topics and modules, incorporating instructional design, providing module-wise academic script and other elements like learning outcome, objective, downloadable text, case studies, assignment quizzes, tutorial, etc. On camera presentation, conducting evaluation, etc. These are the role of subject matter experts, role of teaching assistants also. One teaching assistant in a course, one teaching assistant can be appointed for each 500 enrollment in the course. Up to, I guess, 5 teaching assistants are allowed. We had one course in the last semester, January semester. In that, around 36,000 students were enrolled. So the course coordinator had 5 teaching assistants, but those 5 were not capable, were not enough to evaluate all those assignments. See, if a course has 36,000 students enrolled, then suppose how much weekly assessment they were receiving from students, and 5 teaching assistants cannot evaluate like lakhs of assignments. So it depends on the course enrollment, how many TA you can have in your course, but roughly yes, for each 500 enrollment, one TA is permissible. Up to, as of now, what is the guideline says is up to 5 TA can a course coordinator have for a course. So let's see if something comes up in future guidelines. So the key responsibilities is assistance to co-faculty or faculty, moderation of discussion forum, and maintaining decorum in discussion forum, replying and solving students' query, technical as well as academic, or ensuring submission, assignment submission in time, and submission evaluation. So these are the basic things that the 3 persons which are involved in development and delivery of course they have. The first is course coordinator, teaching assistant, and other subject experts who are involved in development and delivery of course. So other next I have, these are also some guidelines for development of course. These are all mentioned in MHRD guidelines, by that the expert on camera presentation would have no reading from teleprompter. It should be extempore, like you are teaching in your classroom, and body language should not be stiff. It should be like more interactive. Your hand movements, your eyes movements, your expression, your pitch, your voice, everything should be like you are speaking extempore. If you are reading from teleprompter, it should be like reading newspaper or news, like. So it should not be like this. It is like you picture. See, for example, if we are teaching in class, our pitch, our expression changes with the each sentence. What we are saying, if the students are understanding or not, our expression, our pitch, our voice changes over the each sentence. Accordingly, we have to present in on camera presentation also. It should not be like news reading. So these are some guidelines. We have to incorporate some multimedia aspects, animation, documentary, graphics in our video, so that students are engaged in your video presentation. And once they are engaged in your video presentation, then they will go to your e-content material, they will refer your material, they will attempt your course content and assessment questions. So the overall objective of MOOC is you have to keep your students engaged with you. If you will develop or deliver your course monotonously, then probably there is a more chances of dropouts in your course or less number of enrollment. So you have to do 2 things simultaneously. You have to get the students, you have to bind the students in your course, and you have to give them knowledge. So the thing is, you have to modify your course content. See, the new trends what we are facing, like gamification is there in educational content. the concept of learner-centric MOOC. These are there for this purpose only. So you have to incorporate all things. I have everything in my slide because I'm not going. I think I would not be able to finish everything here. So PPT is there. My presentation is there. If you are not able to understand anything, you can drop me an email or whatever. But you have to do some research for a learner-centric MOOC. We have a course which is going to offer from 14 September, I guess, designing learner-centric MOOC. That is free. And if you want some knowledge for learner-centric MOOC, you can join in on SWAYAM, that course. So I think I should stop now so that you can raise your questions to me. Or if in case of anything you would ask me, I can answer you here. Otherwise, you can refer this presentation also for anything. So, shall I bind up now and open for questions?
Yeah, ma'am, that will be fine.
That would be fine. Otherwise, it's
carry on the question answer.
Yeah.
Sukhjinder sir, please start the question answer session.
Yes. Any participants who want to question?
Hello.
Yes.
Good evening, ma'am. This is Dr. Vishal Verma here from computer science background.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, though number of questions were there, but almost all were replied automatically during the presentation. But still, I'm expecting. Please flare some light on that the fund which is transferred for the preparation of all these lectures is transferred in the account of university or in the account of coordinator.
No, see, sir, as of now, what we are doing, we have EMRCs located. I guess in your university also we have EMRC. So as of now, what we are practicing, we release amount to EMRC, then EMRC release the amount to course coordinator. Right. This process we follow as of now. But in future, now we are open for hiring a production facility also other than our EMRC, because we need to speed up the process of course development. So if we go only through EMRC, then it may take time for 3-year degree program, because right now ministry is assuming for actually hoping for 2021 July to offer 3-year degree program through online courses. So it would be difficult, but so we may open for hiring facilities from outside also. So in that case, the funds may release to course coordinator as well.
Okay, thank you. Ma'am, one more question is there. Though a number of positive points were shared and explained very well, I agree with them. But being the expert in the field and the in charge, can you tell us at least 2 or 3 negative points which generally the coordinators miss at the time of presentation, because of which their proposal get cancelled?
First of all, sir, what experts do, they do not fill their weekly structure completely. They do not give the detail of the topics what they are going to cover week-wise. They roughly say, suppose History of India 1, History of India 2 with the History of India 3. But we need to have a clear topic, what they are going to do in what weeks or what lectures. Right? So it helps expert groups to evaluate accordingly. Also, many of them, they do not submit sample videos and write-ups also. So we need that also.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello. Namaste, madam.
Namaste.
There is one.
This is Murthy,
Hello.
madam. From hello.
Yes, sir.
Sir, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, yes.
Madam, myself, C.K. Murthy, madam, from Karnataka. I am teaching for a UG student, sir, madam, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
So there, you have told me in the proposal that we have to take a certificate from the universities.
Yes.
I can't get that point, madam, actually.
Sir,
that
that
means
is
they have
consent
to.
letter.
Okay.
Sir, that is consent letter for being a host university. You have to get a certificate for being a host university for from your university. Suppose you are offering a course in mathematics like probability and statistics, right? So you have
Okay,
to
madam.
you have to get your course approved first from your university's council. I don't know what mechanism you are following in your university, but mostly
Okay.
university has their academic council to approve the courses. So if your academic council approve your course, they will agree to give credit and certificate for your courses. So
Okay.
we have a host university consent letter format. You first get your course approved in your university, then get your letter signed
Okay.
and send it to us.
Okay. Okay, madam. Okay.
Sir,
Thank you.
sir, in which university you are in?
I am in Gulbarga University, madam. It is my
Okay.
college is I am in government college, but my college is affiliated to Gulbarga University, madam. In Karnataka,
Okay.
I am actually in Karnataka.
Okay.
But
Okay.
center, I think center is there in Mysore, madam. Your CSE.
Yes,
Center
our
is in
center
Mysore,
is in
madam.
Mysore. Yeah. Sir, if your
Yeah.
university is not ready to give you consent, then you can approach to University of Mysore as well.
Okay, madam. Okay, madam. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyone else?
Okay, Sukhjinder sir, we can wrap the session, wind up the session. Then anybody having the questions, they can just email to Asmita ma'am. No issues. Fine.
Okay. Thanks a lot, ma'am. This session is very useful as a teacher for us, because while designing any course curriculum for any, must take care of these MOOCs.
Yeah,
This is
sure,
very
sure.
useful.
Mhm.
Very useful. Okay. Thank you. Thanks
Thank
a
you,
lot,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay,
Thank,
sir. Yeah.
thank
Okay,
you,
sir.
Dr. Asmita.
Yeah,
It
thank
was
you,
really
sir.
nice and informative session, and thank you for sparing the time. Thank you. Thank you
Okay,
very
sir.
much.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye
Bye.
bye, sir.